Hey everyone, I hope you're having a blessed day on this beautiful Thursday. We're going to cover some topics today I think are interesting. Antifa seems to be a big one, unfortunately, going on right now. And some of the discoveries that we found out about them are just wild. It's kind of actually mind blowing. But welcome to the Ripple Effect. Start off with, there's actually a senator having to ask the DOJ, specifically Pam Bondi, to look into the actual statistics behind the violence coming from the left and even Antifa. After it was discovered that some of the groups putting the statistics together about left violence or right violence, political violence on either side, was associated with Antifa. Now we would say that's crazy. Why would you ever be trusting a source that's allied with Antifa to give you stats on violence when here everyone can see? Don't trust your eyes, guys. Everyone can see the violence that's being caused by Antifa. I mean, all the wildness that's going on with them. However, don't trust your eyes. Instead, trust the statistics that say no. Actually, in fact, the right is causing 97% of violence. 97%. I mean, I don't know. Every time I see some kind of violence, it's always on the left. So how are we creating 97% of the violence? And I don't know. There's a lot of people on our side out there trying to preach love and trying to preach reaching each other. How is it we are so violent when we're trying to preach love? Every time something bad happens that can be remotely associated with the right, our reaction is to condemn it. Every time there's even remotely something that happens wrong on the right, we reach out in love. And in fact, you can even see it in the Mormon church when they had the shooting at the Mormon church and the fire and all that stuff that went down. That Mormon church reached out and were giving money to the family of the guy. Why? Because you know what? On the right, we follow a principle, and that principles are based in the Bible. And the Bible, even the Mormons, I know we disagree, and that was a whole controversy that came up. But there are biblical principles. If you're going to be a moral people and a moral person, you have to follow principles. And those principles, whether you intend to or not, are going to be coming from the Bible. Those principles are going to be coming from the Bible because they are basic truths. They're laws that run through our entire lands. Like we have all these laws, of science and math and everything else. Where do you think they come from except from God? Nature doesn't create itself, and the same thing applies to morality and how goodness comes about is by following the rules that God has enacted into our lives to make things successful and good. And so when you follow those things, good things will happen to you. Good people that you see that even aren't even religious in any way, shape, or form are still having great lives because they follow a certain type of morality. In fact, even Charlie Kirk was preaching this, that even if you don't believe in God, if you just simply do the things that the people that believe in God do, you will be successful and you will achieve more in your life. That's why he's saying, regardless of whether you think that God exists, get married, have children, and stay steady in your job and give to your community. I mean, those things are all things that would help you become a better person. But besides that, so the senator had to ask Pam Bondi to actually look into the statistics and put together real statistics, real stats, because you can't even trust the stats anymore because they're probably lying to you. And it's mind boggling. In fact, the other part of this that's blowing my mind on this too is trending today. What is Antifa? What is Antifa? You don't know what Antifa is? Antifa isn't just a flavor of ice cream. It's a radical group causing violence across America for a purpose and a set goal. And they're supported by radical people with lots of money and lots of organization. I mean, they have just destroyed us when it comes to organization. The ability for them to artificially create riots and disasters so quickly. They are masters at this. And people are finally looking into this because thankfully enough has been brought up to attract their attention on it. But crazy the fact that this is just now something that people are looking into. I mean, we've had a while of this being a problem, and only now are people noticing this and trying to dive into it. But again, hopefully we can start getting some sanity about ourselves and about what the statistics are, so we can stop having all of these left created statistics out there trying to tell us that we are the ones violent when we know time after time after time that we are not. Now, and part of this too is the fact that the Bible establishes truth. Morality establishes what is truth. It understands what's right and wrong. When you go to steal something from work, even if you know no one's there, how do you know what's right and wrong? Because you have that moralness in you, right? If you're saved, if you even if you've been just training in religion, you understand what is right and wrong innately. And that's why it galls so badly when they try to tell you something that is so contrary to nature. Because whose nature is God? We even see that in the Declaration of Independence. We know who the God of nature is. Even though the man naturally devoid of God will do all kinds of crazy, wild things, God still created the very nature and the foundation of that person, and they will understand innately that they are wrong. Why are the transgenders pushing so hard? Because they have to feel comfortable about it themselves. They know it's wrong internally. Somewhere they understand it's wrong, and out of love, we need to help these people to understand that they're wrong so they can change. Now, I'm gonna leave that alone. Getting a little excited there, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Next is the peace in the Middle East. Now, I mean, I've been hearing that expression, that phrase ever since I was a little kid. Uh, I think it's crazy that the fruit of this administration now really seems to have been established in the first administration, where they set up a lot of the preparation for this, where we saw a lot of neutralization of countries in the Middle East in the first administration, and now we're seeing the rewards of that as we're seeing Hamas being put into a corner, so to speak, and now the adults are speaking and taking care of that issue. But kind of shocked me. I'd been kind of hearing that Israel wasn't able to go full force on a lot of things, but then when you look at the maps that they have drawn as to where Israel controls and stuff, and I was quite surprised. The reason why Hamas is surrendering is because, not surrendering, I mean, they're surrendering to some things, but not everything. Uh, Basically, they're surrendering to being turned into some kind of resort town, which I think is interesting. It's amazing how basic capitalism will change areas. It's actually happening quite a bit in a lot of Middle Eastern countries right now, where for the desire for tourism, they're realizing that you can't be crazy and chopping people's heads off if you want tourists in there, and so it's changing a lot of minds to moderation, which is good. Not that I think a lot of the tourists are good or what they're doing is good, but the moderation is good. And then part of this is that you can see as the temperature comes down in the Middle East, you'll see the global politics start to stabilize, and you'll start to see the economy is improving in places because you won't have this upending in the world, which is always hard. Part of that is, how dare the Jews do what they're doing? Candace Owens has been going off wild for a long time, and I want to put this out there, and we can dive deeper into it. But I saw a really good video. I'd already been thinking about talking about this for a while, but I saw a really good video by a channel called What Do You Meme, and he has some good things. He has a lot of good things. He has a lot of good takes usually, and I agree with him on a lot of things. Seems like a good Christian, and he has a lot of good takes on these issues. Well, he finally spoke out about Candace Owens, and I would encourage you to go watch it. It's a very good video, but I kind of want to summarize kind of my feelings on the topic before we even got to watching his video. Candace Owens has always been, in my opinion, someone who has morphed to whatever the group that she's around. Meaning, when she was originally looked into by the right, she was off on a lot of things that we would disagree with. And what would happen is, as she realized that the people around her were not saying the same thing she would begin to morph and morph and morph and morph and change and change and change. And it got even more drastic when she got married, because it seemed like the guy that she got married to, and again, this is all alleged, we have no idea truly, but the guy that she was married to has some pretty strong beliefs on a lot of these topics, and her whole mindset and everything started to change, or what she's portraying on camera started to change. And it got to the point now where it's absolutely despicable. I mean, she is now an absolutely despicable human being, trying to take advantage of the Charlie Kirk shooting for her own benefit, saying that she's much closer than she was, trying to go after Turning Point, saying Turning Point had something to do with the murder of Charlie Kirk. And all this was happening, by the way, as the investigation was going on, and we're still trying to find the person who shot Charlie Kirk, and she's already coming out with these wild things. And I want to kind of address what the whole point there is. I'm going to go quickly. I'm not going to try to take too much time today on this Thursday. But conspiracy theories. Why is it so much? I mean, I could look into this and I could do a whole video on how many views she gets for every one of her videos, that she goes off on all these weird, crazy, wacky conspiracy theories, from the Jews to everything else. And again, if you've gone so far down the train of hating the Jews that you have Nick Fuentes disagreeing with you, if you know who that is, You don't need to watch any of his stuff, but to know that he is radically anti-Semitic. Then you've gone too far. When you've lost him, even you're so crazy that you've even lost him. But the whole point is, what is it about conspiracy theories that make people really, really, really like them? Well, conspiracy theories make you feel smart. They make you feel good. So every time you believe a conspiracy theory, then you're on the inside. No one else knows what you know. In fact, no one else is as smart as you because you know the truth. And in fact, they are sheep. And I'm sure you've heard that expression before. Oh, they're just sheep. You're just following the norms. You're just following what you're being fed. And it gives these people this feeling, regardless of whether sometimes conspiracy theories are true, but regardless of that, it gives these people this superiority. And it has a duality too in the churches. You'll see this in churches where people that get convictions about things personally will, at first it starts off as a great thing, and then it begins to turn into this thing, well, I don't do those things. Or I don't wear those things. I don't go to those places. And it becomes this superior, hyper spiritualized approach to things that is not loving, one, is not correct, two, and in 9 times out of 10 is not something that's even provable by the Bible, because a lot of times these convictions that they hold are not something that's black and white in the Bible, and God gave us that leeway for a reason. Because he didn't want to just tell you, do 100% this, do 100% this, do 100% this. And there are cases where God does do that in the Bible, but he wanted us to have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. He wanted us to have to learn, to develop, to grow. And if I don't have to learn anything, if I don't have to have a relationship with God in my heart so that my heart has to hear him speak to me, right, for me to be convicted about something, then I don't have to do the work. I don't have to try very hard. But God wants us to have a relationship with him. He wants the Holy Spirit to take control of our hearts and our desires and our emotions and everything like that. And so even though these choices and these convictions are good and many times start from a good place, the problem is they can become easily that very conspiratorial, like, I'm on the in. I know what's going on. And because I know that I'm superior to you. And that's the kind of people that Candace Owens is appealing to. And I'll get to it in another video. I don't want to be too long in my videos. So, but Candace Owens appeals to those kind of people. And if you're mad at me right now because you like Candace Owens and you're hearing this and you're mad at me for saying it, please stop and think for a moment what evidence she has for everything that she says. Please stop and think how crazy some of these things are that she is saying if they were true. Okay, and please stop and pull yourself out of your bubble. They're not a sponsor because obviously I have absolutely no sponsors because I have very few viewers. But Ground News is amazing because of the fact that when I look at it, it reminds me sometimes of how even bubble-like we can be in. Like there was a politician in some state who was a Republican who was into, I believe it was like child. And because of that, he was arrested and a bunch of stuff was going down. And none of the right media was covering it at all. And sometimes I understand that we get that feeling like we don't want to expose our own people because the left won't do it either. But we need to know that it's on our side too, so we can correct it when it comes up, right? We need to know our own faults. And sometimes the only people who can point out our faults are people that are not exactly like us. So be willing to hear things and be willing to defend things. And if you're not willing to defend things and you're not willing to learn and you're not willing to grow, then you will just become a bubble person. And even if you don't agree with Candace Owens, but you have your own beliefs and all you do is listen to your little bubble, you will soon become like someone who listens to Candace Owens. Please don't do that. Please continue to grow. And as part of our channel's focus is reaching people, please find someone today who you can reach out to, who you can get to understand a little bit of truth, who you can share your testimony with of salvation and try to reach them for the Lord, or someone who you can show how they can have a better life if they just simply follow the morality of the Bible and the ethics of the Bible. And even though they may not see it as that, if they can learn goodness through that, it's a blessing to them and you can improve their lives. And eventually they'll understand from whence those blessings come. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help me. I'm very, very happy. We got up to like 52 subscribers last time I checked. And I'm not trying to boost my videos at all anymore on my own. I'm leaving it up to God and to the internet. and I don't rewatch my videos to kind of boost the numbers like I was originally trying to do, trying to play the algorithm a little bit. But I'm trying to do that, and I'll let you know that I'm trying to get every videos out every day at 6:30, except for Wednesdays. I will not be putting out videos on Wednesdays. It's just too hard with church and everything else that's going on. And I'm hoping to add in some shorts if I can, but it's very hard to maintain all of the stuff that's going on. I need like a few million subscribers so I can get some, editors and producers and all that kind of stuff to help me out. So please help me out with that, and subscribe a few million people if you please. That would help tremendously. So no videos on Wednesday, and I'll try to get them out by 6:30. And if I can't, then it's probably because work life happened, unfortunately, and prevented it. So I appreciate you guys for watching. Again, like, comment, and subscribe to The Ripple Effect. Thank you so much. By the way, guys, this is Editing Caleb. So I have one question. If anyone out there has it, I'm willing to pay for them and to ship them as long as they're reasonable priced. But I have obviously a ship theme, which I love because I love ships, and that's a thing of mine. But I have for my books on this side, right here, these guys. Oh, there they are. I have the bookends, the bookstands, whatever. They're antique. They're really nice. They're really cool. But I don't have ones for those ones over there. So if anyone's out antiquing and you find something that are really cool, please feel free to reach out and send them if you can. Thank you so much, guys.